We have about 12 years of digital advertising experience, and we always joke that we eat, sleep, and breathe digital advertising. It's what gets us out of bed in the morning. So we're excited to share some of this data with you and jump into the strategies. A little bit of who Adpearance is. We are certified providers in a number of different OEM programs all throughout the nation. We work with over 33 brands in total. We have about 150 overachieving employees that are all driven by data and helping you solve your business challenges and drive more sales for your dealership. And last, we're tech enabled, that we leverage innovative in-house software to help drive uncommon results at scale, whether that be developing tools that help us drive you more leads for you, or to help us get more scalable to keep costs down. We've built a number of technologies in-house and pretty proud of them. For today's agenda, we're going to look at a lot of data. We're going to go kind of through the funnel here and start at the top and just look at what we're seeing at some Google search trends, some high-level data. We're going to dive into what we've been seeing on website traffic across our dealer body. Then we'll jump into some digital advertising trends and get into the weeds. And then we'll look at vehicle sales over the last month or so. We're also going to help you provide ways to determine when to come back online. I know that there's a mixed bag of different dealer types that we've been in communication with over the last month, and that some are advertising business as usual if their state hasn't closed down. Others have scaled back their advertising, and some of them have paused altogether. So if you're somewhere in the scaled down or completely paused, we're going to help you with ways to determine on when is the right time to come back, and also provide strategies for how. Because I think that depending on your market and your unique situation, the strategies are going to be different for everybody. So first, want to look at Google Trends data, and we're looking here at just some common dealer searches. Google Trends is a publicly available data set that you see the URL down in the bottom right, trends.google.com. I encourage everybody to jump into Google Trends, type in some search terms for your particular OEM, terms that you know are low funnel terms that users will be searching when they're ready to buy from you, and see what the data is showing. You can set your location to be your specific state, and really what we're looking at here is relative interest of these search terms over time. And so we can see that in the beginning of March, the relative interest was pretty high. A majority of these were above the 50% mark. They did take a decline as COVID started to ramp up. But what we're seeing is that in the last week or so, some of these terms have started to see some increases. And as we get deeper into this, you'll see the signs of increases over the past 7 days or so become more and more prominent. If I jump into another view here of some model searches, so a variety of different models across all OEMs, one thing that's interesting is you don't see as sharp of a decline. So the theory here that we have is that users, although they may not be searching for a specific dealership and trying to purchase right this moment, they are still searching for the models that they're interested in. And there's been a lot of news articles that have come out that says that we shouldn't see over the course of this year a decline in sales, but just a delay in sales. And so this is a little bit telling here in that users are still online. They're still searching for these make and model terms. And when things go back to normal, your business opens back up, they should be coming to you to purchase. This is an example of what I was just speaking to a second ago here, is that you can filter in by specific states. So I wanted to look at Texas. Texas is a state that's been largely unaffected by closures. And you can see that across this entire duration of time is that almost all of our search terms for models have remained consistent. So this is, again, I encourage everybody to use this for your particular state and your particular search terms. When we jump into some website traffic, we're looking at all of our dealer bodies analytics traffic across all OEMs in the United States. So one big call out here is that over the last 30 days, we know that website users, sessions, and page views are down. That's to be expected. But when we look at the last 7 days, we are seeing a turnaround. When we're looking at 7 days compared to the previous 7, across the board, we're seeing double-digit increases. And so you can see this in our graph over time here, is that in February, business as usual, we were seeing about 340 pages per day, or users per day, excuse me. in March 15th, when we were kind of at the very beginning of the COVID outbreak, we were about 248, so a pretty drastic decline. And then bouncing back today, we're at about 290. And you can really see that it's just been in this last 5 to 7 days here is when traffic has started to increase again. So what I want to do is I'm going to jump out of this presentation here really quick, and I want to show some specific states. We have a Google Data Studio dashboard for a number of different states, and you can see that state by state it varies quite significantly. And that in California, the last 14 days traffic has been up. Some states that have been hit really hard, like New York, you can see a much more drastic decline. But again, things are starting to turn up. States like Texas that have been unaffected, we're actually seeing that in the last 30 days, website traffic has been up overall. So if there are any states in which you want to see some of this more detailed data, feel free to drop a question in the Q&A section, and we can pull those up for you. If we look at OEMs as well, there's a little bit varying of data. FCA in the last 7 days has seen a double-digit increase. Volkswagen has seen double-digit increases and actually started to increase even up to 14 days ago. And lastly, we'll look at Kia. And Kia has saw a pretty sharp decline at the end of March, but has been steadily coming back as well. So I'm going to pass it over to Jason, and Jason will walk through some of our digital advertising data that we're seeing.
All right, thanks, Calvin. So what we're seeing for organic is that it makes up a large portion of overall website traffic. So as that declines, it would make sense that one of the biggest movers in that mix is going to be organic. On the advertising front, initially we experienced a lot of dealers either decreasing budgets or pausing their efforts entirely. Looking back from mid-February through mid-March, that would make a lot of sense for those who wanted to take more of a conservative approach and align themselves with that declining organic trend. Yet what we're trying to do, obviously, is spot some opportunity here. And what we observed is that right around mid to late March, right around March 28th, organic traffic appears to have bottomed out and has really started to rebound pretty aggressively, kind of aligning itself with the pre-March, early February benchmarks. What this means is that, well, organic traffic is really that natural in-market shopping trend that we're analyzing. So what we're seeing here is that as paid efforts haven't really adjusted to match that, there's opportunity, is that we're spotting that organic is really taking double-digit inclines, and paid search really hasn't started to catch up just yet. Yeah, and we can see that too on the Google Ads side. So if we're looking at impression and spend data, is that over the last 7 days, we do see a slight incline there, but prior to that, we do see a decline as dealers were taking a little bit more of that conservative approach and aligning themselves with that decline in market activity. So really what we kind of want to see is an increase over time and see more of that paid search traffic start to come back. For those dealers who did remain in the market, we've found that it's a lot easier to capture full market volume or full market share. Is that you see from February 1, we have a search impression share of about 66.47%. And over time, that's really increased pretty aggressively to our last data point here is 80.15%. So it's been a lot easier to capture full search volume for those dealers who have remained in the market because the competition simply is just not there.
Yep. And Jason, I'm going to stop you just for a second. We have a question that came through that says, wondering if paid search traffic declines are due to reduced budgets. And it's exactly that. If I jump back to some of this organic search is that's what we're really showing, is that some of the natural traffic that we consider organic more of a natural traffic. You can't turn it on, you can't turn it off. we saw that decline, and we saw that paid search was mimicking that as dealers were reducing budgets and or pausing their efforts. But now what we're seeing is that natural traffic is coming back. So users are going to Google searching for low funnel terms, dealer terms, or model terms. And we haven't seen that rebound quite yet on the paid search side. And it's because it's human controlled. So we know that a lot of dealers currently have their budgets paused. And I think that what we're showing here is that as the natural traffic starts to come back, dealers can start to take advantage of that through their paid search advertising. And again, it varies a lot from state to state, but it is, we saw, for example, in Michigan, that just on Friday, the 10th, when there was an announcement that sales was open back up for digital retailing, we saw a number of dealers who increased their budgets and came back online. And obviously there's an uptick in paid search traffic there. So we're seeing on the natural side the increases, and there's a little bit of a lag because of the humans wanting to either say pause or turn back on, really have control there. And I have another question here we wanted to answer is for dealers who haven't decreased their budgets, have you seen a change in their campaign approach? And provide some examples. The answer is yes. For dealers who have remained advertising, and if they've decreased their budget or if they've remained the same, is that we're making sure that we're focusing in on the low funnel efforts. And if there's any previous advertising that was top of the funnel display or video or social, we're pulling that back and making sure that we are using as much of our budget as possible on those low funnel moments when we know somebody's ready to reach out to the dealership. And so again, the strategies are different for each and every dealer. But we've been recommending, if you have to make some sort of adjustments, that you're pulling from the top of your funnel first.
Yeah, and to build on that is here we have a graph or a chart that's mapping lead actions over time and lead action rates. Is for those dealers who have remained in the market, what we've been recommending is that you do shave off the higher funnel stuff, and we really do keep allocations towards fully funding your low funnel efforts. And if without that approach, what you would imagine is that your lead action rate would probably decline at the same rate that paid search traffic would decline, so roughly about 20%. But what we've been able to do is keep lead actions only dropping about right around 12%. And that's really a 10%, 10.19 to just below 9%. So keeping things low funnel is really where you're focusing in on actually picking up those searchers who are ready to convert.
So we wanted to also look at some vehicle sales. I know this is the hot item. We've been showing this between Adpearance and 4eyes over the last week or so, and looking at national vehicle sales. Right now I have just a static screenshot of this, looking at 3/16 through 4/13, so roughly about a month worth of data. And we're comparing to the previous period, so about mid-February to mid-March. And you can see that there's red across the board, is that almost every state has seen double-digit declines in their vehicle sales. And in fact, nationally, we're down about 40%. If I switch over to looking at just the last 7 days compared to the previous period, you see things start to turn around. In that, in this last week, we know that Michigan, for example, opened back up to online sales or digital retailing, and they've seen a significant lift just in the last few days, and actually are seeing triple-digit increases in vehicle sales. If I look even at a smaller scale in just this last weekend, including Friday through Monday, compared to the previous Friday through Monday of the beginning of April, is that we are seeing nearly double-digit increases across the board. So as we're looking at some of the Google trend data and seeing some trends come back, we're looking at some of our organic traffic and seeing that website traffic is starting to increase, and then looking at vehicle sales and seeing that those are starting to increase. We have some signs that things are starting to rebound. Now, I know that a lot of us are unable to sell or have to remain online because of government mandated restrictions, but I think that this is telling and helpful information that things are starting to rebound. And as soon as your state opens back up, you should see a lot of demand be coming in through your front door. There's going to be a lot of users going to Google and to Bing, searching for make and model terms, for dealer terms, and eventually coming in to purchase. So if we start to look at some of the the vehicle sales and website sessions over time, the dark being website sessions and blue being those vehicle sales that I was just showing on the map, we saw that leading up to the beginning of March, that both of those were increasing. Traffic was increasing, sales were increasing. It was business as usual, and things were doing well. When COVID hit, we started to see the decline, and from this particular date range that I'm looking at, sales have declined by about 51%. But what we've seen is that website traffic has only declined by about 21%. And so what this tells us is that since there's a deviation between these percent drops, that this gap here is actually vehicle shoppers. And I know that some of this will be people who are searching for parts and service when your parts and service departments have still been open. We've seen that parts and service traffic has remained about steady. But what we know is that users are still going to your website. They're still looking at VDPs, and VDP rates have not dropped nearly at the rate at which overall website sessions have dropped. So we know that there's this gap here is online vehicle shoppers. And as soon as things are starting to open back up, we should expect to see these vehicle sales start to spike pretty heavily, and start to close the gap and catch back up to these website sessions. So a couple of questions is when should you come back online? I think you have a few options. Is that can be today if search volume exists. Exists as we see. Leads are being generated, maybe at a little bit lower of a rate than they've previously been, but there are leads that are coming through, and sales are starting to increase. Another option is to come back when you see changes in online behavior in your region. So if you're looking at Google Trends or you're looking at your own website traffic, if you're seeing that your organic traffic is starting to rebound and increase over the last couple of weeks, then you know that there's online activity and people are finding you, and you can bolster that with additional paid search advertising. Or last but not least is when your state opens back up for business, whether that's digital retailing or your actual showroom is open, consumers who have been waiting to purchase will be online and they will be shopping. And as we know of Google's recent Google's recent dealer guidebook that came out, is that 88% of shoppers, their last digital touch point before they come into your dealership is an online Google search. So it's imperative that if they're searching for your business name, you'll show up organically. But if they're searching for just a Jeep dealer, or they're searching for a Honda Civic make model term, it's important that you're there for them, because that will be likely one of their last touches before they come into your dealership. So the return to market strategy we've been talking about is we've hosted a number of these webinars, and we've talked about the personas. Are you a conservative, moderate, aggressive, or a market leader? And as you're returning to market, I think it's important to know as to which one of those do you fall into, and how aggressive do you want to be. If you're coming back in and you have a specific subset of funds that are available for your advertising and marketing efforts, you may need to come in at a conservative level. When you do that, we're recommending that you come in just with your demand-based advertising, your lowest funnel searches. If you want to be in the moderate or aggressive camp, you can step up a little bit higher in your funnel, target some of your higher funnel search terms, and maybe start to step into some of your awareness advertising. So it might be display advertising focused on in-market shoppers, or it may be social advertising on Facebook. And if you want to be a market leader, we are recommending that you're going all the way through the funnel, all of your demand-based advertising and all of your awareness push advertising. So just a visual of that here is search is first and foremost at the lowest funnel, and then your social and display as your funds become available, and then stepping up into things like YouTube and some of your higher brand awareness as you're coming out of this.
Yeah, and in terms of the messaging that you're really going to want to put out when you come back to market, is you really do want to hit home loud and proud that you're open for business. Is that we know that there are in-market shoppers that are present, they're performing in-market searches, and really what you want to meet them with is an ad or some type of creative, anything that calls out and highlights the fact that you're open for business. Shoppers who are ready to buy, if they see an ad, they hit your website or and they realize you're not open, or you don't even have presence there, then they're most likely not going to really be calling up the dealership and really inquiring about the vehicles that they're looking for. So really making it very, very prominent in your copy and creative that you're open and you're ready and you're able to even sell a car is going to be the biggest thing right now. And if you've really adjusted your model to be more focusing in on digital retail, then you also want to make sure that you're highlighting those things as well. Callouts are really, really helpful for in search copy to highlight unique identifiers or unique selling points, open for online sales, if you have vehicle delivery available, uh, home delivery, pickup, contact-free buying, those types of things are really what you're going to want to be highlighting and hitting on right now.
So as far as some of the best practices during these times, in the previous webinars that we've done, we've talked about all of these things over on the right-hand side. We're going to assume that you are executing all of these, and if you're not, it's important to catch up. And I think that we've provided a lot of things to make sure that all of your consumers and customers are aware of the current status of your dealership, and providing some specific tactics as we go through these crazy times. But moving forward, I think the most important pieces here is to keep an eye on your market. Is what does your search volume look like specifically? As we are showing between different states, it's varying quite significantly. And so it's hard to look at it on the national scale and really deduct what you should be doing in your market. So use things like Google Trends, use your Google Analytics website traffic, and talk to your provider, whether that's Adpearance or somebody else, is what is search volume looking like in my region? And what is website traffic looking like? The other is to make sure that you're updating your messaging. Are you open for business? Are you open for online sales? We've seen by making those adjustments and the open for business and all of the current incentives that are taking place across all of the OEMs that our click-through rates in our ad copy are up significantly over the previous 30 days and over the previous month. And last is don't lose out to your competitors. What we're seeing is that the early bird is going to get the worm, in that as traffic is coming back, right now, dealers who are advertising have a lot of search impression share or a lot of market share. And as states are opening back up and more users are coming, if you're not back into the advertising space, those users are going to be taken away by the other competitors who are. So it's important, I think, that as we are seeing that the natural traffic sources start to incline, that your paid and your other marketing efforts are mimicking that. One thing before I jump to the end here, I'm going to pull up some of the this U.S. auto sales by state, and this is a publicly available on our 4eyes, our sister organization 4eyes website. But if there are any states or any time frames in which people are interested in seeing, feel free to call that out in the comments, and we can dive into some of those. But while we're waiting for some of those to come in, I'll hover over a couple here, and that is where I might need to give this a refresh. As we're looking at just the last was this 6 days here compared to the prior period, we're seeing that across the board, all of the OEMs are seeing increases. Hyundai is in the triple-digit increases, and we're seeing that Honda is right there as well. If I look over into Oregon, for example, you can see that BMW, Kia, Volkswagen are really leading the charge, and Nissan is down by about 48% still. I'm getting a request for a Houston market, so we're able to see down to the state level on this public dashboard. And so are you looking for any particular OEM? I guess you could see them here. So FCA down about 27%, Ford down 30, GM down 27. JLR's is doing well right now in this time frame. If there are any other states or any specific time frames that you'd like me to look at, feel free to drop it in the comments and we can highlight those. Wyoming. So for Wyoming, we are seeing that Volkswagen, Kia are up 100%, Nissan's up 78%, GM and Ford down. Illinois. So Illinois, some big call outs here. FCA, Ford, and Volkswagen down in the 20% range. Mercedes-Benz, Subaru, and BMW doing well. And Wisconsin, seeing FCA, Ford, GM, the big three, about 15, 16, 30%. And it looks like Nissan, Subaru, and Honda are doing well in this market. I think the one piece that really stands out to me in some of this data is if I'm looking at just the weekends. I know weekends are big, and if we're trying to just measure how are people's behaviors and lives changing, each and every weekend that goes on, and as we come back to normal. So if I'm looking at 410 through 413, and I'll compare it here to the previous weekend. So we will look at 43 to 46. What you can see is that across the board, we're seeing those in some cases triple-digit increases, and we're refreshing this data every week, and every week that we've been refreshing, we've started to see things come around and increasing, and so we know again Michigan opening up this last weekend for digital sales, 245% increase, and Texas. Even though Texas has remained largely unaffected, people are still getting out more than they were in the previous weekends and coming to purchase. So again, we'll be sending a link over to this so that you can keep an eye on it and adjust your date ranges and look at your particular OEM in your particular region. So that's going to wrap it up for us today. I thank everybody for attending. And if you have any additional follow-up questions, we'll leave the webinar going for a few more minutes here. Feel free to drop in. We can look at Google Trends, website data, sales data for any of your markets. And if you would like to go through a digital analysis with us, we offer those completely for free, whether it be for if you're happy with your current vendor. We have conversations about what our strategies and what our recommendations are. During this whole time, we're here just to help our dealers, help dealers all across the nation. So if you have any questions about advertising strategies, we're more than happy to help. And lastly, is if you haven't heard about our 4 Eyes Relief Package, please reach out to us. It's a free offering that we're giving for the next 60 days. Just to help increase your sales close rate. It's a technology that is usually in the multiple hundreds of dollars that we are helping our dealers with at this time. So any questions, feel free to reach out to Kent Malo at Adpearance. His phone number is there as well. We'll leave it open just for a couple more minutes of questions. And thanks everybody for attending. And I hope that things are, everybody's healthy and that things are turning around for your dealership.